Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Al Bond. I'm the executive director of the Avalon Foundation, which produces Plein Air Easton. Thank you all for being here today and for participating throughout the week in Plein Air Easton. I've got some moments of thanks to start things off this year, and some celebration as well. And so for the past several years, actually, September 1st Partners has sponsored this. So if you were here for Bloody Marys and brunch, you can thank Gilda Temple and Gordon O'Brien for hosting us. I want to take a minute and just recognize the fantastic Avalon staff for the incredible work that they've done all week long. Indeed. And Carol Sleeper and her army of volunteers. Truly, there's no way that this event could happen without the tireless efforts of literally hundreds of people. So thank you, volunteers. There are quite a few people who are members of the Avalon Hall of Fame in this room. So I want to just say, thank you for the many ways that you earned that title. You're all really special people to us. And again, we are just in awe of the ways that you have contributed to Plein Air Easton. And last in my thanks, but certainly at the top of my list, the competition artists this year have just been fantastic. You are truly the best in the country and the world. It feels pretentious to say that, but I really believe it. And these artists have traveled from very far away. They are away from their families. They worked under really difficult conditions. They incurred a lot of expense to be here and gave us 11 days of their life. And more than that, they gave us all a real gift of this incredible body of work. So thank you. Small Painting Sunday was founded in honor of Susan Bryce, who is an Avalon board member and a collector for Plein Air Easton, and just a really fantastic person. She had really sophisticated taste, and it was precisely honed to be, to recognize small and perfect things. So it's a perfect fit that she is the person that Small Painting Sunday was about. This year, our first prize is made in honor of Doris Nielsen, who sadly passed this spring. We are all gonna miss Doris in the plein air community. She was really a fantastic person also, and and gave to this event in so many ways beyond being very generous. Her advice was always very sage, and we sought it many times, especially when things were the hardest. We're gonna miss Doris a lot. Her family, Shelley, Jordan, and Mary Kay, are here today. They came from corners of the United States to be here. Mary Kay is going to speak a little bit, just a little bit, when the awards are being announced. Just thank you for being here, all three of you. It means a lot. So we're going to start things off with the Small Painting Sunday Awards, and then we are going to have our judges talk. Peter Trippi will come up in just a moment and take us through both of those. Peter this is actually the second time that Peter has been the judge for Plein Air Easton. That's how much we like his work. He is the president of Projects for 19th Century Art, where he has many sub-projects that have happened over the years. He is the editor-in-chief for Fine Art Connoisseur magazine, and he is a friend and trusted advisor as well, and has been so for more than a decade. So it's kind of like everybody's coming home today. Peter, I'm going to leave this all in your capable hands. Thank you again for judging this event all the way through. We ask our judges to do what I would say is an unreasonable amount of work, and he's done it all with a smile on his face. So, Peter, thank you very much. Yep.
You're going to get my helper?
I'm going to hand it.
Great.
I'm Vanna.
I love it. Al is so tall, I always have to adjust the mic. I love it. I'm the shrimp here. Hello, everybody. Hi. Happy Sunday, and I am absolutely delighted to see you. Thank you for turning up. This is a fun assignment. This is the Small Works competition, which was just rich with possibilities. As ever, with this talented gang of artists, it's hard to make choices because there are so many who deserve praise, but I'm just going to kick into it if I may. Let me just double check myself here. Yes, okay. Let us begin with the 2 honorable mentions in the Small Works category. Basically, they are co-equal. They're both sponsored by September 1st partners, our friends, and we're grateful for that support. I'm going to read off the winners then in no particular order. The prize of honorable mention comes with $100. The first is going to Paulden Hamilton for Safe Harbor.
So we'd love it if we could pull. Oh, you've got the pictures. Never mind. They're there. All we need is Paulden. Right.
That's the image. Fantastic. He had to go. Okay. Well, we will hold that for him. I promise I will not spend his prize money. And the other honorable mention, $100, sponsored by September 1st partners, is going to Olena Babik for Nature's Canvas. Away. Yep. She's also away. We have very busy artists here, so we're not going to worry and make you wait. Now we're moving to the 3rd place prize, again sponsored by September 1st partners. Thank you. The winning artist is Christine Lashley for Luminosity. She had to go back. Okay, thank you. I think they're all at a bar down the street. I think smart. These people have worked hard. The 2nd place, $750, sponsored by September 1st partners, is going to Krista Pisano, Port Street, 2:33 a.m. We know that Krista is on the road to Wisconsin, participating in a lesser festival. So, yeah. You didn't hear it here. Now, I'm going to step aside. First, I'm going to welcome to the podium Mary Kay Lamoureux to say a few words as we remember Doris Nielsen.
On the other side of the chair. Thank you. Good afternoon. Wow, I'm not that tall either. It's an honor for us to be here today, representing our parents, Bill and Doris Nielsen. I'm joined by my sisters, Shelley and Jordan. Our parents have lived in this area and supported Plein Air for over 20 years. From the very beginning, they found this event to be a perfect combination of what they loved most: celebrating the beauty of the Eastern Shore and the opportunity to build community through art. Over the years, we've had the joy of watching this event grow in so many inspiring and exciting ways. And I wanted to say, too, congratulations to all of you. Organizers, volunteers, artists, and attendees, for everything you've done to make Plein Air Easton what it is today. Today, my sisters and I are especially proud to present an award to honor Doris for Small Painting Sunday. And I'll say that Doris loved plein air, everything about it. She would usually start asking us in, February, if we were getting ready, because she definitely was. Outfits and meals and details needed to be planned, and she loved every minute of it, especially for us coming and her guest artists that she and Dad loved hosting at their house. And she kept a very close eye on things in ways I don't think that Al and Jessica even knew about. She always had feedback to offer. She was deeply invested in making this event the best it could be. That attention to detail, encouraging excellence, is exactly why honoring her through Small Painting Saturday feels like the perfect fit. Sunday feels like the perfect fit for us. Doris believed in celebrating art and artists. She believed in creating beauty, in refining experience. And she believed in making people feel seen, appreciated, and loved. And it is with deep love, admiration, and gratitude that we present this award in her memory. Thank you for helping us carry her legacy forward and continuing to honor the spirit she brought to Plein Air Easton for more than 2 decades.
Thank you. Would you like to help us present?
Okay.
Yeah, it's right here. That's great. Yes. I'll read it off, and you can stand with us. That's great. Okay. So this is very exciting. Indeed, the first place award of $1,000 in honor of Doris Nielsen is presented to Deborah Hughes, Sunset Glow. Yes. Great. Yeah. At the same bar. Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm sure she's very grateful. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll hand these back to you. Thank you. Yeah, great. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. Okay. My goodness. That has to be a world record. They're all away. So, well, thank you, Al, for the introduction. Thank you so much, Mary Kay. I am delighted to be back, as I said, and I want to extend greetings to everyone from Streamline Publishing, the company that produces Fine Art Connoisseur, the magazine that's available for free on your way out. I'm the editor since 2006, and we have a nice big article about Plein Air Easton here in this issue celebrating your 21st year. So congratulations to all. This town of Easton should be very proud of what it's got. I've been a fan for quite a while, probably not as long as some of you, but I'm holding in my hand some clippings that I'll give to Al later of our magazine 2014 and 2015. So for a while at least, we've been helping to tell the story of Easton in the national press. So we're really glad to see you go from strength to strength. It's a thrill. And it's just been so much fun being back, seeing Easton blossom even further, and also to get to know artists, some of whom are old friends and some of whom I had never met until this week. So thank you for your new friendships and enduring friendships, as well the hosts, the sponsors. It's truly impressive. And the message in the magazine article is simply, Plein Air Easton is the best of its kind in the country, and that is laudable. It's a golden moment for this field, as you know. There are plein air festivals nationwide. That's a great thing. Some are marvelous events, but you know, minute for minute, I'd say Plein Air Easton hits it out of the park. So feel proud of that and carry on, please. My hope today then was to discuss with you the works of art that I selected for prizes on Thursday of last week and then presented Friday. Some of you were around for the event where that announcement was made. It was thrilling, and ever since then, I think these screens have been projecting the winning works. They've been hanging in the art museum looking gorgeous, by the way. Those 2 galleries of award winners are fantastic, and so it's a treat to see them in that context as well, in this new set of rooms. My objective today then is to give you some thoughts about how I went about the process of selecting them, and I'll back it up just to say, indeed, I was here a decade or more ago to do the same thing, and my practice probably has not changed much because I'm an old guy. I haven't changed that much since then, except COVID got in the way, obviously, for all of us. I would say that job number 1 as a judge is to step back, survey the room, rooms in this case, and admire the sheer brilliance of these artists. I mean, obviously they were selected because of their talent. That was another person, that was a juror, Mary Morton from the National Gallery of Art, who did that, and I admire her immensely and like her so much. And I was so glad to see the list of artists that she selected. Having gone around once, I then went around again and again and again, and I was making Jess and Al crazy, but I just am very thorough. I'm a perfectionist, and no selection process is perfect. Let me be clear, I'm the first to admit that, because this is very subjective. This is about you, the judge, and your view of the world, and of course those 58 competitors are all distinctive and have individual visions of their own, and there will always be a connect or a disconnect that you cannot exactly explain, but I'm going to try. The fact is that I've been shifting a bit in my own taste toward abstraction, but not full abstraction. Love full abstraction when it's done right, but I think in general, I've seen our field of realism, and in particular plein air landscape painting, mature in the last 19 years of my editorship, such that we as a field have more confidence in our technical skills and are able to transcend the detail, the excellent observational skills, the handwork, and often blow it out into something more expressive and potentially more abstract. And I'll give you the example of Picasso. You may not love his work at any particular period or all of his periods, but he knew how to draw like a 40-year-old by the time he turned 13. And the reason for that is that his father was a drawing instructor in Malaga, in Spain, and he learned at his father's side, and he could draw anything perfectly by adolescence. Then he broke all those rules, and he became the Picasso that we celebrate today. Setting aside your opinion of Picasso, he was able to break those rules because he knew them already. And I sense that this group of artists know the rules of how to do perspective, how to manage their palette, how to think about values, and then they go further. And that is the sign of a maturing field. And we would say the same about Picasso, that he sort of saw that the academics were doing wonderful things. His father was an academic, and he moved on. And that is a particular journey he was on. But it really is very special to see how these artists are going the way they're going. Having said that, there are plenty of works of art in this show and at the museum that are highly detailed and highly realistic, and that's great, because that's where I come from. My studies were very much in the world of realism of the 19th century, which can be very focused. So I'm all for it. I think we need the whole broad spectrum available to each other. And I have no particular opinion about why an artist wants to go down that road. Today, I'm not going to be speaking on behalf of the artists. I would love to chat with them after the talk about whether I was even remotely close to what they had in mind, but I'm going to try. The other thing I'll say is that, in a way, trying to imagine the artist's intention is a bit of a mind game. That when I'm looking at a work, I say to myself quietly, not in so many words, has that artist achieved their goal? Has that been delivered? And who am I to know what the artist intended? But I sort of can guess that, I see where they're going. Okay, this is meant to be very descriptive. This is meant to be very emotional, etc. And then I want to see if it hits on the various levels to get there. And so it is a bit of projection, to be sure. I am, at the end of the day, a knowledgeable, enthusiastic amateur observer. I have no technical training, so I don't understand how the picture was made in detail. I'm not the one to explain the glazes were done better here than there. I don't know, and I don't really care, because most of us in this room are also amateurs, we're observers, we're fans, we're collectors or cheerleaders, we're not expert artist people. And that's okay, we all need each other. The artist would not be here today without you, the buyer, or without me, the gatekeeper at the magazine. We all need to work together to support each other when excellence is present. And so that's why I'm so honored to be here, because this is the best of its kind. And I'm not a plein air expert, but I'm really, really grateful to be watching the best of plein air in action. So with that said, we're going to move through the pictures one by one. On the screen right now, Judge's Choice Award. There were, in fact, 3 of these, each at $1,000, and they were handed out in no particular order. So this is not in any way meant to say that Patrick Lee is, better or worse than the next person I put on the screen. That is not the point. You will not have forgotten this picture if you saw it in the award winners gallery. It's big and bold and brash and fantastic. Patrick Lee calls the painting Oxford Coda. Let's go to the next slide, which blows it up for you so that you can see it a bit better. I'm sorry if the lighting is not great with the glass on the screen, but that's the best we can do in this context. I'm a fan of Patrick Lee's work for a long time. I think that we can be pretty safe in saying that he is very broad-ranging in his approach. I've seen different phases of his career. I'm loving the 2 works that he decided to put in for competition this year. They were similar in their format, basically more or less square. And I think this one caught my eye, not just because of that marvelous reddish tone on the architecture, but also the gorgeous purple tones in the foreground. There was something about that that I thought was very well chosen, that I was drawn in to this hugely graphic image, strong, calling your name across the room. Red has a way of doing that. That's why all sale merchandise is marked in red, right? But it's more than that. I mean, I have no idea if the building is actually red or not. I don't care. This was Patrick's vision of it. And the purple is that lovely contrast, the foreground, that leads me into that explosion of color. And it works so very nicely. As well, the handling of geometry. This is a person who understands how the lines and the shapes need to be aligned. So the verticals at the top left center are well chosen so that we have that tension with the triangle shape at the top and then all the other stuff going on below, such as the window. So just marvelous in the composition as well as the palette. I wouldn't want every picture that I saw in an exhibition to have this brilliant, bold palette, but boy, does this one work. So congratulations to Patrick. So to the next slide, another Judge's Choice, Carla Bosch. And I'll admit, I did not know Carla's work at all when I arrived, so this was a revelation. The title, surprising. And it is surprising because I don't know how the title came to be. Maybe it was just that this marsh was so gorgeous and she thought, oh, what a surprise, I'll paint it. It's not especially enormous, and I'm sorry for the glare on the slide, but nonetheless, what I want to emphasize here is the magnificent brushwork, that there is such joy in the application of paint. And I am a sucker for oil paint when it's laid on properly and with expressiveness. She knows how to draw, like we absolutely know where we are. We see the recession into the distance. We get the idea of the framing of the trees. Claude Lorraine, the great, 17th century naturalist forerunner, has been consulted and absorbed into her way of looking. And many centuries of artists have followed in that set of footsteps, but this is her own. And the interruption of the water, which by the way is very complicated in its coloring. It is not just a flat plane, with these reflections and bits of foliage that vary the experience of moving into the picture. Brilliant. That darker shape at the end of the waterway, a reflection of some sort, no doubt. Marvelous. Just so beautifully toned so that everything is in harmony. It is overall silvery, but there are shots of color in there that keep us alive and moving. I feel like that is a joy to see a painter working at the top of the game. And that is something that you sort of can't plan for. I mean, there's no particular area to point to and say, well, that's what did it. That's why I chose it. It's just, it's a harmony of good decisions. So well done, Carla. And our third and final Judge's Choice Award to Jill Basham. I've been a fanboy for a long time. Green Day is the work. And here it is, blown up. Terrific. Now, interestingly, one could argue that the subject matter is more or less the same as the picture we just saw. And of course, there's a lot of that in this region. So we love the Eastern Shore for this kind of marshy, low-lying, verdant, green, it's raining all the time kind of experience. But what a different project this is, right? That you would never confuse Carla and Jill's work, because this is a different joy of brushwork in a different direction. And I've been watching Jill for a long time and admiring her growth as an artist. The verticality here in the foreground is tremendous. That is something different than what Carla went for. I'm assuming, Jill, are those cattails or some sort of grassy, yeah. I mean, so it is descriptive in that regard. On the other hand, it is a strategy for moving our eye up and in. So accurate, but also artistic and well chosen. As well, we have the framing device here of the trees, that wonderful tree that's at top center right. Go look at it in the gallery because it is so thick and complicated. No photo will do justice to the way she has built up the paint and textures to give it its own life. That's hard to do. You've got to know what you're doing because otherwise it just becomes a big, massive mess. And so that was a joy. But as well then, we see the reflection of the water and we know that there's the intention to move our eye along through that arch into the next meadow, et cetera. But it doesn't matter. It is absolutely a kind of reverie of Maryland nature. And it's just so peaceful and as well kind of synchronized in a way that these colors have been matched up to talk to each other very elegantly. I think that deserves a lot of praise. Thank you, Jill. Best use of light. Well, this is a knockout. I did not know David Oren Smith's work when I got here, and now I do. I will never forget. He's a tremendous talent. Obviously, the scale of his watercolors is unexpected in a field that often, though not always, works small. And so there's that ambitiousness. Yeah, thank you very much. You may recall that in the museum presentation, there were two, one on top of each other, and they're a diptych, essentially. I had to select this one because only one was eligible, I suppose. I guess I could have chosen both, but I don't want to do that. I don't think that's right. The fact is that this is, first of all, technically a wonder to me when a watercolorist can work on such a large scale without mistakes, at least mistakes that I can see, and that it is so immersive, that the idea of falling into the picture is maximized by this scale. That if it's hanging right in front of me on the wall, as it is now, by the way, in the award winners gallery, it is something almost like surrounding. And Turner was very much interested in that too. Turner painted large, well, paintings, oils and watercolors that were meant to push the reader into the scene, and that's exactly what's happening. as well, and I don't want to try to project onto David's intentions here, but I do feel this sense of wonder, maybe even spirituality, awe, let's call it whatever we want, depending on our faith. This idea that sunlight has its own magic, and you can read into that sunlight experience anything you like, but the size of it makes it all the more moving. If it were small, it would still be exquisite and jewel-like, but this is something more, if you will, cinematic. And no photograph you take is going to match this. I'm sorry, that you can blow up Sebelchromes all you like, but this handling is so special. The beauty of the paper he's chosen, and you can see the handwork of the strokes. That's something that, in my view, no photograph can deliver, although photography has made a lot of progress in color in the last 25 years, so we should celebrate that too. But this is all about a painter, and I really take my hat off to David, and I look forward to watching his career blossom. Well done. The watercolor. Speaking of watercolor, I'm so pleased and proud that there's an entire wall of watercolors in the award winners gallery. I don't know if that's happened before, but watercolor is our friend, and we are fans of what watercolorists do. So that's, gotta say that. Yep. It's thrilling to be introduced to the work of Harsh Agrawal, a visitor from far, far away from London. Let's go to the larger image. This blew my mind. It is nowhere as large as the David Oren Smith that we just discussed, but it is very powerful, and it deserves its moment in the sun. I mentioned to Harsh that I'm a fanboy of the 19th century Scottish watercolorist Arthur Melville, and he immediately said, "Oh my God, you know who Melville is too." Like, we were like geeking out. Melville was this amazing, please look it up when you get home, gifted Scottish watercolorist who lived too short a life and made magical images in this vein. I'm not suggesting that Harsh has copied anything from Melville, but it's worth looking at Melville's work, and here's why. The set of decisions taken here is counterintuitive to what many people expect of watercolor, or of any kind of painting for that matter. Huge open foreground. It's got little flecks of color or marks to move us in, and then intense activity on the far right. There is this frenzy of mark making on the right, mostly in darker tones, then that magnificent pale red on the hull of the ship. And then a structure beyond, I'm assuming it's some sort of hangar or shipyard structure, which dissolves, that you can barely see the roof, but it's there, that he has drawn a faint line to mark the crown of the roof. And that's exactly right, because our eye should remain over here at right and center, but we know that there is recession, there is a big building beyond, and so on. And I love that set of potentially counterintuitive decisions that lead you in and veer you to the right, and give you a sense of that, I'm gonna guess, hot baking weather that Harsh was experiencing like the rest of the artists. You know, this place cooks in the summer, doesn't it? And so you just feel bleached looking at anything when you're in that weather, and that's part of what's going on here, and yet the picture is not bleached. That there is a judiciousness, a pulling back on color and letting it shoot up there in the middle in those red passages. Absolutely hard to do and masterfully done. Thank you. Okay. Well, talk about a nightmare to illustrate in a slide. The best nocturne by Zufar Bikbov is here. Let's go to the next slide. Nick, our AV whiz, we worked hard to try and get this to some sort of resemblance. We apologize to the artist, and he understands completely that nocturnes are challenging to photograph. It happens that Zufar is a renowned nocturnist, and nocturnes are a beloved subject for many of us. It seems to me that few people do it as well as he does. And you really need to experience this in person in the award winners gallery. I'll try to talk about it, but it's very hard. The truth is that this tradition of the moon over a nighttime scene is ancient and loved and can be utter cliche and hideous if you do it wrong. It just becomes like chocolate box, and you have to be very careful, because if you go too far with the pretty, you end up with saccharine, and it's a pain to look at. This is not, because this feels very moody and thoughtful, a little melancholy. Some would call it tonalist, whatever. The fact is that he has got it right when it comes to the light sources. Of course, the moon, the reflection in the water. There's a brilliantly designed band of light running just below center across the picture. These are presumably windows. And then, of course, the verticals there, such as the trees that frame so that that moon is celebrated without being too cutesy. It is, if you will, dead center, but it's not feeling too pat. There is a sense of life and movement through the handling of the water. We can sense that there is just a breeze, little breeze, moving to keep this alive. That, I feel, is tough work. And to harmonize these blues and blacks and purples so elegantly is challenging. You've got to be a pro to make that work. So I salute Zufar enormously. Really well done. Another artist new to me, Lizzie Grosso from New York. Edge Creek Before the Storm. Hooray for watercolor, once again. This is so interesting. It's not huge. The management of light and shade is brilliant. The approach of the storm is inferred by the purple band across the top, and then this very savvy, hard to explain, maybe umber band, and then more of a, I don't know, gray. You have to go see it. It's just super, because that mastery of the paper and the brush and the watercolor material, to not get them mixed up together. We sense the dynamism of that storm cloud, that there are the little bits coming down, and that's how nature works. And I assume she was watching this all unfold. You all know the weather around here. This is very accurate to Maryland in July. As well, the water is astonishing all by itself. Even if we just cropped off and enjoyed the lower register, I would be happy. Some of you may know the work of the Swedish master of the 19th century, Anders Zorn, who was a great expert in watercolor, especially depicting water. And I think Lizzie's there. I think it's just as good as that, because we sense its movement without the cute little choppy bits, you know, that amateur artists make. It's got this dynamism without being distracting. So we revel in the shadowing here at the far left, lower corner. It's mark making, almost linear in a way. There's a kind of Franz Klein aspect to it. Really interesting. Everywhere you look, there's something to make you stop and wonder, how did she do that? And bring it all together so it didn't get confused. The descriptiveness of the boats over there on the right, hooray, we know we're in Maryland, great. But that stretch of sky is letting you know that something's afoot. And that is dramatic. I mean, that's what the great masters have done, like Turner or the Hudson River School. The onset of the storm is something that makes our heart thrill. And we watched the storm last night, come to think of it, during dinner. And it never gets old. You know, there's something about it that makes you humble. So thank you, Lizzie, for that. Neil Hughes, my goodness. Wilson House. People seem to love this house. It's been depicted many times in the competition and outside the competition, and that's great. I look forward to seeing it myself. Very few people understand architectural depictions like Neil Hughes. It's just a reminder of his brilliance. The idea here of describing this frame house so well without drawing every clapboard, without capturing every roof tile, and yet I feel that the anatomy of the house has been understood and transferred to this surface for us. And the placement of the figure, love it because it gives us scale, and yet it does not distract because we're not worrying about the finishing of the feet. This is not a portrait of a farmer looking at his house. This is just to give us that sense of perspective and the handling of the nature all around. Clearly, Neil has imbibed and absorbed the work of Bastien Lepage, the great French 19th century artist who was famous for highly realistic figures set into impressionistic landscapes. He was a rock star in the 1880s. And that is his special way of combining Impressionism, which was only a decade old, with the expectations of photography. That Bastien Lepage recognized that the figure needed to be realistic so that we knew exactly who that person was. And I don't mean portraiture, I mean peasants picking in the fields, but they were incredibly humane renditions of these people, and yet the nature could go to seed. It didn't matter if each blade of grass was worked out. What Neil has done is give us a Bastien Lepage portrait of a house, depiction of a house. It is a thing with a life. It's not a person, but it may as well be. It reminds us, who's lived in this house? Who lives in it now? It's got its own soul. And that is magical to me. And the person in the foreground pondering it brings me along to ponder that wonder as well. I don't know how old that house is, but it's clearly got a past. And then nature is around it enduring as well. The building off in the distance is marvelous because it's just a glimmer of there's more out there on the farm. There's architecture galore in this area, but this house is the star today. Bravo, Neil. Best Marine, yes. Oh my gosh, this is like the Tim Bell show, you know. It's incredible. Tim is a legend, obviously, at Easton, and was given not only the prize in Best Marine, but also Artist's Choice. And that, of course, has nothing to do with me. The artists, I fully agree with your selection of Tim for that honor. This picture jumped at me immediately when I saw the two magnificent works that he had submitted. And I feel that it's the one I would like to have from the show, in particular, because it is so restrained. It's large, and it is colorful, but it's not as colorful as its pair. I think that this mastery of values is off the charts, that Tim does it like no one else, and I would argue that there is his absorption of masters like Sorolla, the great Spanish artist of the 19th century, Daubigny, the great French master who was sort of pre-Impressionism and inspired Monet. This angling of the vessels, the gorgeous touches of black in the water to move us along, to suggest dynamism, that lovely strip of orange running across the middle. Orange or red, I can't recall now, the slide doesn't tell me. Fantastic. I mean, to compose like that at this level with so relatively few colors to lean on ain't easy. And so the masts, the way that they're talking to each other without repeating each other, they're reflected obviously in the water, but that's moving in curves as it should. It is, first of all, capturing an aspect of this region's life, which surely can be found at every port and marina, but also I would put that in the Musée d'Orsay near the Daubigny. I think it's that good. So, way to go, Tim. Life of a Waterman. I've been following Haiti Jo Summers by reputation. My publisher, Eric Rhodes, is a big fan, and I'm now a big fan too. Haiti Jo has come from the UK, and we're so glad to see her. I believe there's a tradition at Plein Air Easton of depicting the interior of a workshop, a shipyard, and I love that. I think that's magical, and you know, it feels very old school, and yet it also feels so modern because these are real people fixing real things, and this is how the region hums, and I love it, and she nailed it here. This is hard work to make all this come together. It is very easy to fumble when you've got all these pieces and parts. And I won't try to unpack every bit, but love putting that, whatever the hell that is, in the foreground there, that is driving us forward. You know, if this were a water scene, obviously that would be a boat, kind of like Tim Bell style, moving us in. Instead, we have this contraption here, and then we have these figures around doing their own thing, and yet in the background, we can see the water sparkling in the distance through a doorway, and we see a giant hull, and you know, wow, that's a lot. And many different colors, and wonderful shapes that seem like drip marks, even if they're not quite. There's a dynamism here, which is delightful, unexpected, given that you can go overboard on detail in a marvelous space like this. You could become very photographic and pre-Raphaelite and then get lost in the details and never finish the picture. I particularly love the lower right where we've got, I think it's like a work table of some sort, and these might be legs under it, and they're not quite finished. And we see, I wouldn't call them pentimenti, but there are shadows because she wants to minimize some areas that really don't need the attention. These are supports of some sort. That's non finito. That the confidence to not finish something is an ancient skill. Non finito, the Italian phrase for it. And you gotta have guts. You know, if you're worried about every mark, you are never gonna get this done. But she just lets it roll. And it works because it's so well composed and then well selected with the color. The color, speaking of which, that band of pinkish red running down the middle is fabulous because it gives us something to hold on to as this amazing interior whirls around us. Way to go. Haiti Jo. So, let's see. Life on the Farm. Yes, Growing Season by Henry Coe. I did not know Henry's work, and I love it. There were two magnificent pictures submitted. This one I fell for right away. I don't know if that's the same house that I was admiring a moment ago. No, it's not. Okay, that's fine. It's a white house. But, you know, it doesn't much matter because, of course, it's playing a secondary role. It is not the star. This is not a portrait of a house. This is this marvelous rush forward with the field and its rows leading us in. And that is brilliant composition. That I am thrust into the picture. I'm walking in marshy, wet land. I can see the reflection of water in those rows. And then the roadway, and then the trees well selected, and speaking with the telephone pole, and the telephone lines running above. That's brilliant composition with, obviously, linearity, then balanced by the absolute fluffiness of those clouds and the fluffiness of the trees. All of it in a palette that is very pulled back. I'm afraid this slide may be a little too green, a little too emerald. There's a kind of coolness to the whole effect, which is very beautiful. And the house obviously gives us some sense of scale. We can imagine, you know, it's about this big in terms of two-story house, but it's really that land that is speaking. I wouldn't call it a portrait because I don't know enough about it, but when I saw the category Life on the Farm, I said, oh yes, this is the picture. So bravo, Henry. Now this was hard. 1, 2, 3, first place, second place, third place. One always hopes as a judge for something that's going to, you know, rush out and say, me, I'm the grand prize. But it's not quite like that. One had to kind of think it through, and there's never a perfect solution for any award set, but certainly this year, lots of talent all around. I did not know the work of Joshua Hoffman. I'm delighted to be introduced. This picture, Youth, I love that title because this is a treehouse, and presumably that's where youthful people play. And it is big and bold and a total joy of mark making. Rather like Carla Bosch, I was praising her work before with those dabs of paint. There are marvelous dabs and streaks that make this sing. And of course, you can have all the joy you want with your color and your expressivity, but you also have to have a plan when it comes to composition. And this artist has found that with this marvelous architectural structure, kooky and wonderful, with the trees balancing that. So we've got our diagonals on the house, we've got our verticals with the trees, we've got foliage at the bottom to smooth things out horizontally. It all is well composed such that there's never a sense of chaos ensuing. He's just on the brink of nature running riot, but it is not running riot at all. It is absolutely controlled in his hand. I love the slightly random aspects, like there's a horizontal mark. I don't quite know what that is. I mean, it presumably yeah, I think it's a ladder on its side, isn't it? Yeah. I'd have to go back and study the picture. It almost doesn't matter, but of course it's there for a reason. This is potentially exactly what he saw or potentially shifted into place to be useful so that we have this vision that is coalescing and not fracturing into a million pieces. That is hard to do. It's very bold, and I wish Joshua well on his journey. Thank you. Okay. Second place, Murray Taylor, Watching St. Michael's. I've been to this place. This is cool. This is like, oh yeah, I remember that feeling. I was talking earlier about when you feel the sun beating down on you in this area, you know, you're just surrounded by warm. And that's what this is, and it's so evocative that way. Murray Taylor, whose work I did not know, is hitting it in the sense that we see the, if you will, the bleaching of the landscape by the sun, this marvelous chartreuse color in the foreground, which is evoking grass, but you know, reminding us of the heat and the fact that green grass starts to look a little yellowed as the sun beats down upon it. The water is a very delicate blue, not a rich, pretty blue that amateurs paint. And then the shadowing, the way the chairbacks are pushing shadow down onto the grass is absolutely brilliant because it's got its own life going on there. So we have the architectural structure of the chairs, but we also have this movement, and of course it's all accurate, that's what he saw, but it also is cooling, and we almost want to hide behind those chairs to stay out of the brilliant sunshine that is projected onto the fronts of the chairs. As well, I believe we're looking toward the Maritime Museum there in St. Michael's, if I'm not mistaken. We've got that relief that if this were just the lower register, it would be an Alex Katz painting, and it would be lovely, and it would be graphically strong, and we would, you know, put it on a postage stamp. Now, with the museum in the distance, so charming, with its red roofs and its, you know, masts, and we have the group of trees in the distance, there's a local charm to it, that we know where we are, and we feel the scenic beauty of St. Michael's. That is a very special place. And so all of that comes together, and I salute Murray Taylor for that mix of modernity, a la Alex Katz, and old school, because those depictions in the back are more evocative of late 19th century American painting. I mean, there is a kind of old lime feeling to that, or Coscob in Connecticut. That is well done. It's not too descriptive. We're not worrying about every brick in the building, but we absolutely know that this is something specific to this region. Thank you. Okay. And the grand prize, yes. This surprised me. I was moving around again and again and again in the galleries and came upon this again and again and again, kept coming back to it. And I thought, well, that must mean something. I've not followed Martin Geiger's career, and I'm a fan now. This is a large painting, as you know. Many of you know the Pinwheel House on Harrison Street, and it is wonderful. The house itself is very beautiful. But, you know, there's a way to depict it head-on, and that's great because it's got so many gorgeous bits and pieces to it. I love Victorian, full admission, but I love the fact that this house is surging forward into my world, that it is almost uncontainable. Now, the easiest thing to do always to help with that effect is to chop off some parts, right? So he's cropped it brilliantly so that we're not having that symmetry or completion. We have a sense of we're on the move here. We're walking toward the house, or it's walking toward us, if you prefer. It happens that the house is for sale. And so Martin has judiciously presented the for sale sign, but removed the wording. That's brilliant, because that now becomes a white form with which he can play. And so it's white forms all over the place. And of course, we currently revere John Singer Sargent for his mastery of white on white. White is not a color. White, if it's done properly in sunlight, is a bunch of colors all together harmonizing. And Martin gets that. And so he's played with that across the form in so many different ways. And I kept coming back to that marvelous window, or whatever it is, in the middle. It seems to be octagonal. It's really worth studying in person. It's got a lot of texture and impasto. It's bluish green, and it may or may not be like that on the house itself. I've only seen the house at night. But it doesn't matter, because that is a focal point for us to come back to as all of this movement is occurring around. As well, the treatment of the foliage is great, because this is an abstract painter in plein air landscape painters' clothing. And I love that is okay. Our field should embrace that. And sometimes it's hard because we like to be descriptive and we like to celebrate every leaf on every branch, but it doesn't need to happen. That tree at the far left is just a mass of very subtly selected green, and it's shifting from part of one section of the tree to another, and it works. And I don't need to know anymore, because this is about a house in motion. And more importantly, it's not actually in motion, it's about what that house feels like to the viewer. It is so special, that house, that you have a sense of it, like the White House that we were celebrating with Neil Hughes, it has its own story to tell. And so I want that to come over me in a way. And I wish the new buyer of that house all the joy in the world. So, thank you for listening.